This painting is 24 inches long by 16 inches high, and it's 300 dpi, so it's a good size canvas. I'm working in Artrage 6. I'm using their custom thick paintbrushes, so I needed to come up with a way of working that reduces lag. In actual fact, it eliminates lag completely, and I've come up with a real cool way of working. I'm going to share it with you now, so let's get into it. So here we are in Artrage 6. What I want to do today is talk about my method of working using the custom brushes, because I think if I was to use the custom brushes for the old painting, it would probably be quite painful initially. So I've come up with a way of working which allows for working at a decent speed, there's no lag, and then bringing in the custom brushes a little bit later on into the painting. So as you saw, I started off with the roller brush to get in this blend of this mountain scene. This is a photograph that somebody's asked me to paint. It's only 780 pixels high. It's a really tiny image. There's no detail in it, so I'm kind of having to make a lot of it up. So there's that, you know, it's not the best image ever. But I begin, once I've created that initial sky, I create a second layer, and I'm just using the normal square brush, not even a thick paintbrush or anything, just the normal brush to start painting in these mountains. And obviously there's no colour on the photograph, so I can't select colours off that. The reason I've imported the image, by the way, is separately and not using the, when I say import the image, in the video I've overlaid the photograph onto the application, and I've not used the reference photo feature within Artrage 6 because I find that that it's I can't zoom in close enough to get a real good look at the image, and it's also fuzzy. So I've got a larger second screen which I put the source photo on to use for reference, and then I've just put that there for you to see, and I put it in a corner where hopefully it's not going to obscure too much information. And you can see I'm now, once I've got this initial painting in, all done with that normal square brush, I went in with thick paint and started with my custom brushes and started to paint in the thick paint. And then I decided that it was too soon, and I went back in it again and decided I wanted some more detail. Now I'm in the custom brushes. There we go. And I'm starting to put the thick paint on this mountain range. And straight away you can see it's adding contours into that cliff face, which you just wouldn't get with the normal brushes. So I've created a full set of thick oil paint brushes, ranging from something that will allow me to put really big strokes on, some that just let me put little dabs on. So and the favorite ones I've created one that's sort of, it's called thick paint over paint, and basically what that means is it's not necessarily picking the color up below it, it just overpaints with the new color, because a lot of them sort of blend the color much more. And there's a lot of brushes here that I'm not even going to use. I've got a very fine one as well, which almost draws sort of pencil lines in it, which is a good way of sort of scraping away the paint. So as you can see here, I'm just sort of building it up nice and slow, adding all of these contours and sculpting away the rocks. And then another feature that I really like about these brushes is that you can use them as erasers as well. So I can sort of lift out some of the shapes at the top of the mountains if I didn't like them too much. So I've got this detail brush and this overpaint brush, and they're the main two, and you can see it's going really well. This is a large canvas. It's 24 inches by 16, so I'm not even restricting myself to an A3 canvas. I've really push the size up. So with that fix that I used for reducing lag, it's worked really well. You'll notice I've added some green into the painting, and now I'm putting like a little bit of red in. I chose those colours using the Triadic colour picker, another new feature in Artrage 6. Just sort of tweaking some of the brushes there. But if you look at the colour wheel, you can see there's a large circle on the colour that I've got selected, then two smaller circles. Or is it the other way around? It's a small circle on the colour that I've got selected, and then two larger circles that are sort of make a triangle. And by selecting those colours, I've been able to produce a colour scheme for this painting. So it's predominantly blue, and then with the sort of yellow green and the sort of purple reds, not really purple, close to the reds, colours. So it was really easy to produce a colour scheme. So I really like that feature. I think I'll be using that a lot. And you'll also notice that I've only painted half of the picture. I've not gone into the reflections at all at this stage, because you're probably going to guess that I'm going to copy it and paste it down. And I also got a perfect straight line there. If you hold the control key down before you start your stroke, then lift your finger off the control key, you can draw a perfectly straight line with any brush. So new layer now, painting in these trees. I decided I wanted to paint everything, all of the trees, the mountains, and get it pretty much finished before I created the reflection. I was tempted to sort of do the mountain and copy that down, but I thought, no, I want to make it as easy as I can, so that I am not having to start over painting things. So I wanted to pretty much finish the whole of the painting, which was a bit counterintuitive to me, because I like to work over the whole of the canvas normally, but in this case I chose not to. This is the first time I've painted a mountain range, by the way, so it was a bit daunting, a subject I've never tried before, but I'm very happy with the result, and I'm loving the thick paint. One stroke is like the equivalent to putting 40 strokes on with the well, perhaps not 40, that might be a bit of an exaggeration, sort of 5 or 6 strokes with a conventional brush. And I discovered that you can select all the layers or not, sort of draw a triangle around the area you want to copy, and then you can copy all visible layers, which was great, because that way you can sort of copy and paste, and you don't have to merge the layers down. I then put a blur on it, and it just looked so artificial. I thought, that's just, to me, that was cheating, using the blur tool. And I decided to use a palette knife. So I messed around with the palette knives, and I think I came up with using the which one was it? I think it was the Hard Out Smear, just to blend away all of the detail in the water. And then I started going back in and painting in the mountains and putting more detail in, because that is not, you know, the actual sort of main shapes of all the buildings are in, so it's not really going to affect the reflections much. So I just wanted to go back in and add a little bit more detail. You notice I painted in the sky as well with some thick paint, because I wanted to bring that into the I wanted it to have the same feel as the mountains. I didn't want it to be just the roller, and that could have been that water could have been finished there, but I decided I didn't want to just use the smear. I wanted it to sort of echo the brush strokes of the top half of the painting more. So I wanted to go in and paint some of the reflections, and this basically meant that I was doing a lot more blending, a lot more painting, switching between the thick paintbrush and the palette knife to smear the paint, and adding more paint for the mountains. I felt that they didn't come out in the reflection too well. I also used the tubes of paint to really squirt some thick paint on that I could then smear out with the palette knife. But it was really important to me that I add a look as though the bottom half of the painting belonged to the top half. It was painted. It wasn't just using that reflection tool. What am I talking about? Reflection tool. It wasn't just blurring it or using the palette knife to smear it, because I've barely used the palette knife in the top half. I did use the palette knife in odd places just to sort of remove thick layers of paint, which worked really well. So considering this is a big painting, 24" by 16, using the custom brushes, I was really pleased how this went. And I'm just adding some final little bits of sparkle to the water. There we go. That is my snow-capped mountains using custom paint brushes on a decent sized canvas in Artrage 6. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, a big thumbs up as always is much appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, because I've got lots of videos like this and I would love to be sharing them with you. So hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.